Good evening and welcome to Eastvale Crime Watch Show. I apologize for the late start. We have already talked about the show for about 6 minutes, and I was introducing Deputy Myers, and we realized that Facebook had a cutoff on their feed, and I got a pop-up. So we are starting the show a few minutes late. My apologies. If you've looked in the news recently, you probably have noticed that there was a tragedy today at Saugus High School. And I would like to ask everyone in our city to please pray for the victims, their families, and just keep them in your thoughts and prayers over the upcoming days. Also, please keep in mind the first responders who have to go into that not knowing what they're going to be facing and do it diligently and bravely, transporting victims to the hospital as quickly as they could. Another thing we'd like to remind you of is as you are going through this, you might be talking to your kids, and if your kids have anxiety about this, this is the perfect time to talk it through with them. Make sure they understand what happened and that this is an anomaly and what they can do in a situation like that. If they continue to feel stressed, there is nothing wrong with going to your school and asking if you can somehow have an appointment with the school psychologist so they can help work your child through this. Also, I would highly suggest don't let your kids be engulfed in listening to this on the radio and on media. You know, we've understood it, and it can't be healthy just to continue to listen and see this over and over again. Take a break and move on to something else. It's important to understand what happened, but not dwell on it, because that can't be good for anyone to be able to do that. I see we have a number of guests already tuning in, and we are glad that you are here. We had another great thing happen today. In our city, the Limonite Overpass opened. That's been a long-awaited improvement for our city, and it is wonderful to zip across those multiple lanes to get on the freeway now. And it really is a nice addition to our city. If you've been on the 15 and you go under it, the architect that was put together with that, it really sets us apart. And Jurupa Valley and Eastvale should be very proud of the work that was done. I know as a city we should be proud of the county as well as our past city councils and our current city councils who worked so diligently to ensure that this project came to fruition and is an active part of our city. Tonight we're very fortunate to have on our show a person from Riverside Sheriff's Office, and so because this is Deputy Myers, she has a lot of great things to talk about. We are not going to be doing the 60 Seconds to Survive segment tonight or a Motor Mark segment. We're going to be going right into our interview with her. So tonight, we are going to be interviewing Deputy Myers. And Deputy Myers, if you've lived in our city for any amount of time, you've seen her. She's been a deputy on the streets. She's been a school resource officer. She originally started helping us with Neighborhood Watch. She is an integral part of our community. And she is a number one reason that we are one of the safest cities in the state and in the nation. It's because of her hard work and her willingness to work within the community that we have these open lines and we're able to work together with law enforcement. If more departments had a Deputy Myers, we'd be farther ahead as a state and as a community. So without any further ado, we have Deputy Myers right there. How are you today?
I'm good. How are you, Don?
I'm very good. We have quite a few people already tuning in tonight. Why don't you tell the community a little bit about what you do?
So I'm the Volunteers and Program Coordinator at the Jurupa Valley Station. So that means I'm in charge of all of our volunteer forces, our Explorer Scouts, our Citizen Volunteers, our Mounted Posse. I'm also in charge of our reserve deputies that work out of our station. I cover our social media, our neighborhood watch, our crime prevention through environmental design, as well as all of our community outreach.
Oh my goodness! Do you ever have a chance to go home? That's a quite a bit for one person.
It really is, but it's a very rewarding piece of law enforcement, and I enjoy it.
Let's start right off. I know people have heard about reserve police officers and reserve deputies. Tell us a little bit about that process and how you could potentially become a reserve deputy with the Riverside Sheriff's Office.
So many people start the pathway through our modular academy. It's a part-time academy. It takes about a year to get through. You are given all of the same training as a regular basic deputy sheriff training program. And then there's different levels that you go through. So you can be a level 2 reserve, which is basically you're the deputy's right-hand person. You definitely carry a gun and you have all of the same training, but you don't go out there on your own. Then there's a level 1 deputy reserve that can go out there on their own, and they do everything that a regular deputy sheriff does. They're a sworn officer, just like all of the rest of us. However, they do it out of the goodness of their heart and the rewarding feelings that they get by serving their communities.
That sounds great. Now, if someone was interested in talking to you more about becoming a deputy, is that a reserve deputy? Is that you, or is there a special coordinator for reserves that they have to go through?
So our recruitment, they deal specifically with reserve deputies as well as hiring for our correctional deputies and our sworn paid deputies. And that's at joinrsd.org. That's the best place to get your most recent information.
Excellent. We will definitely put that on our page. If you notice on our page in the notes section, we do have an email address directly to Deputy Myers if you want questions or have questions. We also have the phone number to the stub station for the volunteer coordinator, and a link to their website if you want to get more information after the show today. So along with reserve deputies, there's something else that you're in charge of that's really cool, and being that you are in charge of Norco and Eastville, and that's the Mounted Posse. Tell us a little bit about that.
Our Mounted Posse is a very, very special group of volunteers. They get the opportunity to do search and rescue efforts, whether that be down in the river bottom or up in the mountains of the Yucaipa-Calamesa area that we share with San Bernardino Sheriff. They also go out and do parades. They do community events. You'll often see them at things like Picnic in the Park. They come out there and they secure the parking lot area as well as the trail that's along the river bottom there that comes up to where Picnic in the Park is. So you'll see them out there at that. They do lots and lots of outreach at some of our schools and things like that too. And these volunteers, they do all of the work on their own. They maintain their horses, they maintain their trailers, their trucks, everything on their own. And they provide all of their extra time to us, which is very nice.
Wow. I do know when Sheriff Bianco was inaugurated, that you guys, it looked like you had every horse in the city of Norco out there with a posse member on it. It was quite impressive. Do you guys have one of the larger mounted posses compared to the other sheriff's departments around here?
Actually, we don't, believe it or
wow.
not. It's the only ones that are a strictly volunteer mounted posse.
Okay. Does the sheriff's department have any mounted units with sworn personnel?
Currently, no.
Okay. So that makes sense. So a mounted posse volunteer supplies their own horse, their own trailers. They do everything. Now, is there some type of academy or training they have to go through once they sign up?
So there is a volunteer academy that they go through. They also have to go through a qualification course with their horse. We also provide training for them through the California Mounted Officers Association.
Wow, that sounds like a terrific opportunity. Now, a volunteer who's riding their horse, they need to go through a traditional background check, or what does that involve?
Yes, they go through the same background process as anybody that's coming into the department. They have to fill out a personal history statement, go through a criminal background check as well as a live scan, and make sure that they don't have any kind of shady things in their background. We don't want just anybody joining the department and having access.
That makes a lot of sense, and that's a great thing. It looks like we're getting a lot of viewers. I can't quite tell, but it looks like you're getting a pretty good fan base here. Hello, Deputy Myers. How are you, Deputy Myers? I think you have some fans out there, or followers. But so you have the Mounted Posse, you have the reserves. How about the adult volunteers that drive around in the patrol cars that say volunteer in policing or something like that? Tell us about that program.
Our citizen volunteers are an integral part of our station. We really wouldn't function without them. They give the opportunity for deputies to continue serving the community instead of staying on like a perimeter, whether it be a crime scene perimeter or possibly a vehicle crash perimeter, to make sure that people are staying safe and staying out of the area. Most recently with some of the fires that we had, they came out and provided water and masks and also held perimeters for those to make sure that people were not trying to come in and do anything to the homes that were threatened while we were trying to do evacuations and things like that. Without them, we would really suffer. They are truly an integral part. They also provide extra patrols for our different service areas that we cover.
Excellent. Now, are they eligible for call-outs? Because I know sometimes I've driven home late at night and I've seen them suddenly at a traffic accident. Do you guys call them out, or are they always out there?
We do call them out. So they are willing to take our phone calls at 2, 3 o'clock in the morning, which just shows us that they have true hearts for service, which is awesome. Because a lot of times that may be when we have a lot of other things going on where deputies are truly needed for medical emergencies or other crimes that may be in progress. And if it's something that they can wait for a tow truck or just wait for debris to be cleared out of the road, it's a great opportunity for us to continue serving the cities while they take care of something that's just takes up a lot of time, unfortunately.
So, what would the qualifications be for a volunteer to do this? Is there an age requirement or things of that nature?
So the minimum age for our citizen volunteers is 18. We do require you to be an adult. But other than that, just willing to give about 10 hours a month of your free time and attend a meeting once a month, which isn't that big of a deal. If you really think about it, those 10 hours in a month go really, really fast. Typically, we do have a lot of retirees that tend to join our volunteer forces because they have the extra time and they really want to serve their communities. But we do also have people that are younger that are looking to get their foot in the door with law enforcement, and it gives them a taste of what law enforcement is about. And your average citizen can go on a ride along with us once every 6 months, but somebody that's a volunteer with us can go every month.
Oh
So that
my,
gives them more opportunity to interact with law enforcement.
that is wonderful. Now, I know that I see some of the same volunteers. Are they assigned a geographical location? Like, are the Norco volunteers in Norco and Eastville, or do they go where they're needed within the jurisdiction of your substation?
So they go where they're needed. They literally go wherever we need them. You will see a lot of the same people because they're the ones that answer their phones the most. We have about 25 to 30 volunteers on our roster currently, all amazing individuals that service our station and our community areas on different levels.
So, what does the volunteer training academy look like for someone that wants to be a volunteer like this or to be in the Mounted Posse?
It's 5 weekends, and you get training from first aid and CPR to your basic penal codes, vehicle codes, traffic direction, all the things that they really help us out with. That's the training that they get on those 5 weekends.
Now, when we have more volunteers, it allows our sworn officers to really do more impactful things. Isn't that correct? That you're not spending as much time maybe driving around in, say, the Home Depot parking lot, where you're able to do more proactive things, and the volunteers can kind of do that?
Absolutely. They are also another set of eyes and ears that have a direct contact with us through radios. So they could be, say, at the gateway during the holiday time when you may see a little bit of an uptick in shoplifting or maybe some vehicle burglaries. If they're out there, it shows presence, which tends to deter crime from happening. Or if they happen to see somebody doing a crime, they can get a hold of us immediately, let us know, give us a valid description of the possible suspect, maybe a fleeing vehicle, what direction they went, all of that kind of pertinent information immediately.
That's great. So we've talked about the posse, we've talked about the citizen volunteer group, and I think you have another really special group of young volunteers, and they're called explorers.
Yes.
So tell us
So
about them.
we
What
are an
exactly do they
extension of,
do?
I'm sorry.
I said, oh, tell us about them. I apologize. I cut you off.
That's okay. So we are an extension of the Boy Scouts of America. It's ages 14 to 20. And it's literally giving them all kinds of law enforcement training as well as an opportunity to do community outreach. They learn how to react to active shooter situations, how to conduct a traffic stop, how to conduct a pedestrian check, how to interact with people. A lot of times our younger generation may not have the best communication skills with other people. It gives them the opportunity to interact with the community, to reach out, to talk to them. We may be going to our elderly community, giving them some activities to do. We also provide extra sets of eyes and ears at different events, such as Picnic at the Park, or the Fall Festival, or Winter Wonderland. So you'll see our explorers out there a lot. They also get a little bit of paramilitary type style things where they learn how to do color presentations. You'll see them do honor guard type things. They also get to do a 1-week live-in academy in the summertime, which gives them kind of a taste of what the basic Deputy Sheriff Academy would be like, the physical training, the mental strife, a little bit of stress. It's also a whole lot of fun. So it's a great way for us to interact with our youth, give them a taste of what law enforcement life would be like, so they can really decide whether law enforcement is for them or not. It also gives them a lot of life skills and some friendships that will last a lifetime.
That is excellent. Now, I know you guys just recently competed in some big group against other explorers, and I understand you guys did really, really well.
So we just recently participated in the Riverside Police Department Explorer competition. We competed against 29 other units
Oh my goodness.
throughout the state of California, and I think we had a couple from Nevada and Arizona as well. And we took 3rd place in our crime scene investigations and 5th place in our emergency negotiations.
That's
so they
excellent.
did very well.
That is great. That is excellent. So I see we have a question here. It says, is there a grade requirement?
So we do require our kids to have a 2.5 GPA or above, which is a little bit of a higher standard than most of your extracurriculars, but that's because we really expect a little bit more, and we really want to prepare them for a life of law enforcement, and law enforcement takes the best of the best. So we try to drill that into them very early.
Okay. Let's see here. This is a great question. I got suspended as a freshman. I'm a junior. Can I still join Explorers?
Absolutely.
That's pretty. I appreciate it. As long as you're not fighting anymore and getting suspended, I would assume.
Right.
But okay, so tell us what the process would be to join and to become an explorer. What do they have to do?
So the first thing that we ask you to do is to come to one of our guest meetings. Our next guest meeting is actually this coming up Monday at 6 p.m. at the Jurupa Valley Station, which is 7477 Mission Boulevard in the city of Jurupa Valley. You get a taste of what our training is about. You also get to meet some of our other explorers, learn what our requirements are. And if that's something that you decide, not your parents, that you want to join, then we get you a background packet, you fill it out, and we start a whole process.
That's excellent. So how long does the process take to do the background?
So it's a case-by-case basis, but it usually takes about 2 to 3 months.
Okay, that seems fair. Now, are they allowed to come to meetings during that time, or do they wait to hear? Okay. So once they've been approved, and once you say you can be an explorer and be a part of our team, then what happens? Do they have to go to an academy, or what goes on then?
So they get to jump right into training.
Okay.
And learn all about the program. We hold our academies only once a year in the summertime, so they are expected to go within the first year of joining the program. But they get to learn all kinds of things in steps. So they start out with coming to meetings, participating in scenario training. They start to learn their 10 and 11 radio codes, as well as some penal codes, some vehicle codes. They go through testing. Once they've passed that test, then they get the opportunity to do ride-alongs, which is something that most minors never get to do. If you're under 18, you cannot go on a ride-along as an average citizen, but as an explorer, you definitely can once you've passed your radio code tests. We also have some requirements of how many meetings you've come to and how many events that you've participated in as to how you earn different pieces of your uniform.
Excellent. Now we have another question here, and it says, is Explorers for both boys and girls within the Pacific age group?
Absolutely, boys and girls.
Perfect.
I know that sometimes people think about Boy Scouts, they think about Explorers, they think about boys, but it is absolutely for girls. I'm the advisor, and I'm a girl.
That is absolutely correct. So Now, I may have missed it. So, is it start as a freshman, or how? What's the youngest you can be an Explorer?
So the youngest you can be is 14, but you have to be a freshman as well.
Okay, so a freshman in high school, at least 14, and do you age out at a certain point?
So you age out at 21 because we're really preparing you to go straight into a career as a sworn deputy sheriff or a sworn police officer. Some of my explorers have gone on to be police officers instead of becoming deputy sheriffs, which I fully support as well. But 21 is when you can actually become a sworn member of law enforcement. So that's why the age out is 21.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense. So, after they come, what's the cost involved for a student that wants to do this? What do you think they should budget for?
So it's actually one of the cheaper extracurriculars that you may come across. So you need to buy your own pair of boots, which you can get at Big Five for usually $25 or less. A pair of black BDU pants, so the cargo style pants. If you can't afford those, we actually have programs where we can get those for you. And a polo shirt, which will cost you $20. So for less than $50, you can join the troop, and everything else is covered. Any of your other materials for your duty belt or your uniform will all be provided by the department. Any travel costs, food, things like that while we're out on events or competitions are completely covered by the department because of our wonderful sponsorships by our contract cities.
Very good, and what a great program and excellent training. So, as they're going through this, are there ranks or things that they can obtain like you do in the regular sheriff's department?
There absolutely are. They can earn the rank of corporal, sergeant, lieutenant, and captain.
Okay, so is the captain the head honcho of the post that works in liaison with you, and then has a couple lieutenants under him?
Yes. So depending on how many kids we get will depict how many different offices that we have available. So typically we have one captain, one lieutenant, maybe a couple of sergeants, 2 or 3 corporals.
Okay. Well, here's a great question. This is pretty long. It says here, other than experience and knowledge, is there a benefit to being an explorer for 7 years? Can someone be an explorer for the full 7 years?
They absolutely can be an explorer for the full 7 years. The benefit to that is well, obviously it's going to be experience and knowledge, but that just gives you that much more of a foot in the door when it comes to a law enforcement career or even a military career if that's what you want to get into. It also gives you some of that life experience and things that the corporate world would look into, like time management skills, writing, communicating, things along that line. And 7 years may seem like a long time, but if you look at cheer or football or any of those other kinds of things, kids are in those for 10, 12 years.
You're absolutely right. Tina Marie, thank you very much for that question. That was very insightful. In that vein, as they get older, do they have more responsibilities than a 14-year-old, a 20-year-old would?
So it really just depends on the explorer. I give them what I think that they can handle, and if they think they can handle even more, then I'm more than willing to give them more responsibilities and more opportunities to get involved with more things. I put all of the events out there for anybody that's available because there's different availability levels, because we have some kids that explorers is their only activity that they do, so they come to a lot of our events, they participate in a lot of different trainings, they go on ride-alongs a lot. Then you have some kids that explorers is just another piece of everything else that they do. So they may be in football, or they may be in choir or band, or they could be in some other kind of sport or activity. And explorers is just kind of a supplement to that. So they're not quite as involved. It really is whatever you put into it is what you're going to get out.
So while a college education, if I'm not mistaken, isn't required to become a deputy, this would be a great opportunity for them to keep their foot in the door with you guys while they're getting their first couple years of, say, junior college out of the way and not getting student loan debt by going to the local JC, get 2 years, and then by that time you could probably start the academy and go that route. Is that possible?
Absolutely. I've had a few do that.
Okay, that seems like it would save their parents quite a bit of money. They could stay at home while going to one of our local junior colleges, and then start the academy, and then they can pay for their final 2 years on their own once they get off probation.
Yes, and you can definitely go through college while you are a deputy or while you are a correctional deputy, because you can actually become a correctional deputy when you're 18. I have one of my current explorers right now trying to become a correctional deputy because they wanted to get his foot in the door but start earning money right away. And he's going to do corrections for a few years and then go on to be sworn after that.
So what a great opportunity for kids. I know they say you need to go to school, and we talk about student loan debt crisis that's facing our nation. If a kid really wanted to go in law enforcement and planned it right, they could almost have a job waiting as a correctional deputy when they turn 18, do some more college, then become a deputy and finish up college, and just be so far ahead of their friends who might be $50,000-$60,000 in debt, and they have a full-time career.
Absolutely. And there is pay incentive for degrees.
Wow, that is awesome. So it would pay to continue to go to school, and I'm sure it doesn't hurt if you're in college and you're working with the sheriff's department. Now, what would you recommend that they take in college if they want a career in law enforcement?
So I know most people think that a degree in criminal justice is the route you want to take, and it just isn't anymore. They really want to push for you to get something like psychology driven, sociology driven, one of your other sciences, because law enforcement is a much broader scale than just fighting crime. We very much so put our counseling hats on and help people out in whatever crisis that they're in at the time. So not necessarily is it a crime that you're responding to, but a crisis that person is in. So you have to be able to relate to them. Sometimes there may be a mental health issue going on there, and the better education that you have to understand that, the more effective you are as a law enforcement officer.
Well, that makes perfect sense, and you widen your horizons. And so if one of our listeners, kids, are interested, they email you or call you?
Absolutely.
Okay. Now, what about if they ask their school resource officer, if they're at Norco High or Eleanor Roosevelt, they would know to put them in contact with you, right?
Absolutely. I talk to my SROs all the time.
Okay, perfect. Well, Eastville, if you want to be a mounted posse person and you have a horse, or you want to be a volunteer that drives around and really helps our community, or you want to be a reserve police officer, or you want to be an explorer, it sounds like Deputy Myers can hook you up. Is that right?
Absolutely.
All right. Well, let's see here. We'll see if there's any final questions that are coming in. If you were an explorer for another post, am I able to transfer to your post if we moved here?
Yes.
There's your answer. Yes. Is there anything they would need to bring or anything with them? Or I'm sure you'll call their advisor.
Oh, yeah. So we'll definitely be in contact with their advisor. We've had some explorers transfer from outside posts before, so that's not something new for me.
Okay.
I've had kids come before, especially if they move, or if they were living with one parent and now they're living with another and they want to be closer to that particular parent, then they've come to our post as well. So that's not even a problem.
Well, that sounds excellent. It doesn't look like we have any more questions. We had quite a few number of viewers popping in and giving you a lot of thumbs up throughout, so that's a great thing. So do you have any final words of wisdom that you would like to give to those people watching tonight?
What I really just wanted to say is that our volunteers are truly the heart of this organization. Without them, we wouldn't be able to stand on the 2 feet that we do. So if you have a heart for service and you want to get involved in your community, volunteering with your closest law enforcement office would be a great way to start.
Well, Deputy Myers, in our show notes, we have your phone number, we have your email address, as well as the website. So hopefully, within the next few days, you'll start getting some new leads, or some people that really want to help step up and make a difference in their community.
I sure hope so. Thanks, Don.
Well, thank you so much. Have a great evening, and we will talk to you soon.
You too.
So, everyone, that's it. Deputy Myers gave you a great overview of how you can volunteer and make a difference in our community. And what a way to show that you have a servant's heart. And this is all the way from a freshman. I know she didn't say the upper ages, but I've seen some of our volunteers that I've talked to that are in their 80s. And just think, it's going to keep you young. If you're retired, you want to look at contacting Deputy Myers, because what a way to stay young and stay involved in your community. If you're a freshman, sophomore, junior, or senior, I can't beg you enough to avoid excessive student loans, and this seems to be a great opportunity to do that while building a spectacular career. I have children. My own children are in law enforcement. It's a very rewarding career, and at this point, they have already made lifelong friends that they will have forever, and it's a very tight-knit family that would work and help each other. Unfortunately, there are a couple more comments in. I'm not sure if Deputy Myers is listening, but someone says, "Thank you, Deputy Myers. We miss seeing you on patrol in Eastvale, but we're glad you're doing great things in the community still." Amen. Deputy Myers has been a bedrock to our city, and we've been blessed to have her. And then Tina Marie writes, "Thank you, Deputy Myers." And from the bottom of all the admin of the Eastvale Crime Watch page, we can't thank Deputy Myers enough for everything she's done. I know on the neighborhood watch side, she was an integral part of working as a liaison between us and administration. So I can't encourage you enough to look at our show notes and make contact with her and find out how you potentially can be a part of our sheriff's department and make a difference in the community. Well, everyone, say something nice to your neighbor, be good to each other, and I look forward to seeing you next week at the same time on the Eastvale Crime Watch and Reporting Show.